Hi, welcome to What's Cooking with Rochelle. Today we're going to make baked stuffed French toast. We are going to be stuffing it with cream cheese and apples today, but you could make it with lots of different fillings if you want. This is just one example. To get started, what we're going to do is I left a couple of apples that I didn't finish. So you can see I've peeled the apples. And I'm just going to finish coring just to show you guys how you do this, in case you've never done it before. So you can see, pretty easy. They do make cores, but I don't know. Okay, once you get your apple cut in half and decored, you're going to just cut little slices lengthwise. And then what I've done for this recipe is I've cut these in half once. That's it. So I'm going to show you the size of the pieces just so you get an idea. I have 3 apples here. You can use whatever variety apple you would like. There's no particular one that you have to use. Some apples are sweeter than others, but I'll just show you. So this is about the thickness that you're going to want your slices. And you know, it's not an exact science. No one's really going to measure that. So now that we've got all our apples chopped, what we're going to do is we are going to mix with this a tablespoon of cinnamon and 2 tablespoons of white sugar. Put those bad boys back in there. And then we are going to put this on the stove. You want to cook your apples before you assemble them in the French toast. If you don't, they're going to be raw. So we're going to go ahead and put these on the stove and get these softening. Okay, so to our apples, we are going to add a half a cup of water, just regular water. And we're going to let that just simmer until they're softened. If you need to add a little bit more water because they start to burn or stick, go ahead and do that. But it should only take them maybe 10 minutes on the stove to soften. Okay, so while that's going on, I've got 2 bars, which is 8 ounces each of cream cheese. And to this, I'm just going to add a tablespoon of vanilla. I'm not adding any sugar to this. Now, if you like yours sweeter, you absolutely can. If you're adding sugar to this, you're going to want to add powdered sugar, okay? Not white sugar, because then it'll taste like grainy and it'll be gross. So my cream cheese is already softened. If you don't have already softened cream cheese, then you can soften it in the microwave really easily. And I'm just adding the vanilla to it to add a little flavor. But again, it's not necessary really. It's just to make it taste better. But if you didn't have it, no worries. Or if you want to experiment with some other seasonings, you could do certainly almond or coconut, some other flavorings. Okay. Now we've got that done, we're going to go ahead and get started with the base of the French toast, which is eggs. All right, so we are going to crack 8 eggs into our bowl. Actually 9. I'm doing 9. And I am going to make enough to probably feed 6 to 8 people. It's going to make a 9 by 13 size pan. So if you want to scale it down, you could do half of what I'm doing currently and make it in a 9 by 9 or an 8 by 8 pan. I'm using a glass pan, but you can use whatever kind of pan you want. Good thing I caught that, huh? And so once you get all your eggs cracked, we are going to whisk these briskly for just a couple minutes before we add in the milk, okay? I want to try to make the eggs a little lighter. So you want to combine them to get the whites and the yolks together. Now to this, I'm going to add a tablespoon of cinnamon and 2 tablespoons of sugar. So altogether the recipe calls for 2 tablespoons of cinnamon, 4 tablespoons of sugar. And again, you can make it sweeter or less sweet. You could use alternatives. For example, I'm using regular milk, 2 cups of regular milk, and half a cup of half and half. But if you wanted to use alternative milks, you can absolutely do that as well. Okay, and then we are also going to add in some vanilla. Okay, now that we've got this combined, we're going to go ahead and add in our milks. And just simply stir. Okay, so let's go check our apples and see how they're coming along because we have this ready to go. Okay, so our apples need just a couple more minutes. While we're waiting on them to finish, let's go ahead and get our bottom layer done in our pan. So like I said, I'm using a 9 by 13 glass pan. It doesn't have to be glass. It could be metal or ceramic. Now I'm simply putting a quick layer of spray on the bottom, a non-cooking spray, to keep the bottom from sticking and also make it crisp up a little bit more. Now I have a loaf of brioche bread. A brioche bread has more egg in it. That's the difference. So what we're going to start doing is dipping our bread in our lovely mixture. And let me put this aside. What I do to make them super absorbent of all the great goodness that we've created here is I actually put little holes in them with a fork. Now you could do that before you put them in the liquid or while they're in it. So I'll show you. So we take a piece of bread and you're simply just going to poke holes in it. Especially closer to the edges, I find that helps with the absorption. So you can see, you can't really see the holes, but you did see me just poke holes in it. Okay, so now you get to play and have fun. So you can tell when they're ready because they're going to be mushy. See how it's all mushy? And we're going to make a layer. Let's see, actually, let's turn them this way. So we're putting 2 more in. We probably will use this whole loaf of bread. So like I said, if you want to scale it, make it less, absolutely you could do that. Now I can tell by the sound of my apples that they are probably done, so I'm going to go turn those off. By the sound, I mean I can hear it kind of like sizzling. That's telling me the water is pretty much evaporated now. And they are. So we're going to go ahead and turn these off and just let them sit until we finish with the bottom. Alrighty. Okay, and when you can see that my pan isn't really big enough without squishing them to make 2 more pieces on this side, so I'm going to take 1 piece and I'm actually just going to break it in half. Right down the middle before I put it in. So you can see we're getting the holes poked. So like I said, there's lots of options for this. Certainly you can use just stale leftover bread. You can use discounted apples. That's actually what I did from the grocery store. And then that way it's super inexpensive too. Okay, so we're ready for our layer of cream cheese. So you're going to take your cream cheese and kind of spread it out over top. And if you didn't add the vanilla, you could actually just cut little layers off of the log if you wanted to do it that way. Now when it cooks, it's going to melt a little, so it doesn't have to be an exact science here. We just want to spread it around so they all get some of this yummy goodness. So if you were doing half a recipe, obviously you would use 4 eggs. You would cut the milk to 1 cup of milk and 1/4 cup of half and half. And you would use 1 bar of cream cheese. We're almost there. So I hope you realize how easy this is. Now, we're going to go ahead and get the oven on, if you didn't already, to 350 degrees, because that's what you want to have the oven set at to bake this. You can bake it a little hotter if you want, but we want to give the cream cheese and the apples time to marry together. Okay, So you can see I haven't really done anything super fancy. It's not like one smooth layer or anything. If you want to be anal and go for it like that, please be my guest. So the next step is to put whatever fruit you chose. We are obviously making ours with apples, so let me go grab the apples. And you can see how lovely these apples are. They're coated with some cinnamon, vanilla, and sugar. And again, sweeter, less sweet, you decide. It's your breakfast. And this smells wonderful. It smells like apple pie, which I don't know how often you make homemade apple pie, but it's always wonderful. It fills the kitchen with that wonderful scent that they sell in the grocery stores with the flavoring of apple pie, cinnamon sugar. If you wanted to use an alternative sweetener, you certainly could use honey to be a little bit more that way. Or you certainly could make it with stevia if you cook with stevia. This is a very traditional one we're doing here today. Okay, so last step. I'm just going to press this down just a little bit to even it out and make sure when I put my last layer on here that we've got it all kind of ready to go. All right. Are we ready? Okay, so we already know how many pieces we need, right? Because we need 5 more pieces. So let me get out 5 more pieces. And so for this tray, I didn't use this whole bag. I actually have 4 pieces left. And let's go ahead and poke some holes. Especially around the edges, like I said. It makes that crust area get soft too. And you don't want to put them all in the milk at the same time because there's not enough room in the milk bath for them to properly soak. So this is definitely something you could make at home with your kids. This is something your husband could make for you to surprise you. Breakfast in bed that looks all fancy. Okay, we got this guy ready. Now I'm gonna go ahead and flip them around and put the half ones on this side just so it makes it easier when you're scooping it out. Okay. 2 more. Forgot to poke that one on the table. You know, if you ever go out to eat and you get French toast and it's kind of dry and boring in the middle, they forgot to aerate it. So that's a key step. Now this last one, as you know, we're going to cut in half. And you can see we've almost used all of our scrumptious goodness here. And I'm going to show you what we do with what's left. If there is any left. There's usually just a little. Okay, make sure you get all your cinnamon and everything if possible, and you're simply gonna drizzle it on top. If you didn't soak them good enough ahead of time or while you were doing it, you'll have more left over, but that's what it looks like before it goes in the oven. Now we're gonna cover this with some foil, and we're gonna put it in the oven at 350 degrees for about a half an hour. And when it's ready, I'm gonna show you how great it is. Okay, so I got a piece of tin foil. I'm gonna show you another secret. You ever have anything stick to your tin foil? Annoying. Spray your tin foil with just a little bit of cooking spray. And then put that side down. And now we don't have to worry about that. So we're gonna put it in the oven now. Okay, so the French toast has been cooking in the oven for about 30 minutes. Now we're gonna go ahead, remove the foil, and let it cook for about another 10 minutes or so just to brown and crisp up on the top. All right, so it's now been cooking for about 10 minutes with the foil off. We're ready to take it out of the oven and have a great breakfast. Ah, it smells to coffee. Yay, favorite part. Now you could eat it with or without syrup. We're going to add some wonderful maple syrup to this. That's delicious. Let's dig in. Get some apple. Once again, thanks for joining me for What's Cooking with Rochelle. Bye for now.